We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it! Get there. Yes, he will. The lovely did.
Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me?
Oh my goodness, a pickup catch block. Put it deep, and that's another high risk.
And it smacked away and picked up off the wobble.
Welcome one and all back to the city of Padova, the Youth European Ultimate Championships 2023. And as we see the wonderful drone overhead shots of the stadium here in the middle, the heart of Padova, we have our finals day unwrapping for you. First off, kicking off the under-20s women's division, the French defending their title of the best youth team in Europe here for the women's division versus the bottom seed coming into the championship, the host nation of Italy. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Christina Obermeyer. Christina, what are we expecting from this matchup?
It's going to be such a great fight. Good morning and welcome to that gold medal game. Me as well as Hanny, I'm really excited to be here and give you that live action. I think both teams are super excited to play here. It's not the first time for many of them, but it's always a special moment to be in a final like this, especially for the Italians that are on her home turf, so to say, in Padova, of course. They've played each other before. It was quite a big margins that the French dominated over the Italians, but I think today is a different day. Today is different in terms of the energy. We're in the stadium. It's slowly filling with all the players competing at this wonderful tournament, and they're just gonna sit and watch as these two nations go to battle, and one of them will go home with a gold medal.
Well, certainly the seeding and certainly expectations of previous results will favour the team playing in the blue jerseys, the French women, because of course not only are they coming off a world silver medal last year at the joint junior world championships, but actually the last time this tournament ran back in 2019, similar scenes of course to the senior division with the pandemic interrupters, it was also the French women's program that took the gold there. 15-8 the final score against the Swedes last time out at this European youth level. Of course, we don't have the under-17s division, so there's a number of these French athletes that it is their first year representing the nation of France, and of course plenty of Italian sideline action to try and boost it. There's plenty of fans. They're just hiding from the early morning sun here in Padova.
Indeed, as we see both teams hyping up the French with their national anthem, the Italians with a cheer that they have done every single game before that. Hello from our booth here. We are so excited to start this game. It's going to start at 9:30, so about 3 minutes left for everyone to get ready, us as well. And I'm so excited. I'm buzzing with energy for this first poll to go up, because both these teams have shown us that they are one step above all the others. The only team that pushed them a little bit with a similar stat line in terms of points was the Czech Republic, losing to Italy and to France, but 14-10. Of course, we had the opening match of Italy against the Czech Republic in the same stadium, and then later on in the tournament, Italy and France and the Czech Republic also played. It was also 14-10, but France ran over everyone except that one.
They really did. There was only the one game, indeed, against the Czech Republic where the French did not hit the full points cap of 15 overall. About 4 minutes remaining till the teams get underway. I'll let you know who is starting on offense. Don't think the teams have had the toss yet between the captains. But with the Condiasson there on your screen, that is a number to look out for. The number 8 just emerging from behind the braids.
Indeed, so maybe Condiasson in with the top scorers of it. Looking at the stats line in terms of goals and assists, the Italians are a bit more widespread, which is interesting because the teams have scored many points, and it's a bit better distributed, and that makes it a bit easier to scout the French as well, because there's a few players on that French team that have most of the stats points. Camille Blanc comes to mind, maybe Condiasson, as you mentioned, Jade Gledel, Perrine Bertrudo, and probably Simone Lacoste-Lefebvre are the ones to really stop on that French side if you wanna try and contain someone. Like, have your shot at it. It's gonna be a hard thing to do. On the other hand, the Italians,
well, it's all about, we've spoken to their captains. It is about getting those matchups right. They said they have indeed studied them really well. But their emerging star for one of their youth players has got to be the number 30, Sarah Fayed, who we saw in the previous matchup between these two teams go for a layout goal that I think even surprised herself. So two teams are huddling up on the field in front of us.
indeed, Fayed, not, if we take the stats that are in consideration, not the biggest one on her side, but contributing to the team. The only one standing out with over 20 combined assists and goals is the number 44, Marilina Bisceglia, and everyone else, or a lot of other players, have a stat line of 12 to 15, which is, as I said, quite a big, like, good distribution. A team that has many role players, maybe not that one great player that will take the game for themselves, although championships like these are where stars are born, and there might be someone on that Italian team really taking that game for herself and impressing not only us here on the pitch, but you at home as well.
Well, very similar scorelines as well for the Italians. A well-deserved bronze medal went to the Czech Republic yesterday. We already mentioned they were the only team to hold the French to 14. They did exactly the same, as you already mentioned, Christina, in that opening showcase game here at the stadium in the heart of the city. But in terms of the Italians, we asked their coaches really, you know, who were their key players, and they just said all of them. We were discussing yesterday who you choose as your sort of 7 best female matching players for the entire tournament here at this youth championship division. Who'd get our blue and gold athletes, sort of similar to what they do over in Australia. And it was really difficult to find any of these Italians that we'd pick and favour. But that is, of course, how you can win a championship gold. A full effort from all of the players on the field to try and nullify the stars of the French. The Italians have a slight advantage for the pure numbers game. They've brought a more full, fat squad. Their coaches have constantly told them over the course of this championship that they are the 23 best players in Europe. Let's see if they can secure that. Of course, the two coaches for the Italians, Alessandro Gali and Massimo Calza, whereas the French will be led by a mixed gender pairing. Of course, Christophe Delpech and Deborah Lecalve.
I remember them from last year and from 2019 as well, a coaching staff, especially on that French side, that has a lot of experience with coaching youth. And I find, and I think we've talked about that again and again, it's very different, the approach you take when coaching young athletes, whereas in the senior division, of course, the coach on that women's side coached the men's senior team to a fourth place finish in Limerick at EYUC. So someone who has very many different fields, different pieces that he can add to coaching that Italian team, whereas the Italian coaching staff has a lot of knowledge in special that one division.
We just saw there, disappearing from your screen, a fantastic shot from camera 2. Shout out to Chips. The coach of the Italian nation with a monkey strapped to his back. Now that is a very interesting sort of feature, because in English, the definition of having a monkey in your back is having a serious problem that's making your life difficult or unpleasant. So maybe that's the theme of the defense. I don't know. Maybe it's the idea of being the monkey on the back. Certainly this Italian side is extremely athletic. They have the power in their legs to get under anything slightly loose that's been thrown by the French, although if we give them a baguette magique for their coaches, they said they would like their defensive players to avoid the holes on the pitch. That's worth mentioning, to be fair. There are a couple of divots where poles have been removed from the stadium here. So we've been watching the groundskeepers try and fill those up as much as possible to bring the caps of the pole covers in line with the playing surface. So hopefully everyone can stay injury-free on that front. But they also want the French to not have any unforced errors. That's the task that the coaches are giving to these, well deservedly, a cut above the rest so far in the competition team for the French nation. They are being asked to be picture perfect here, because of course if it's going to be the next world rotation, a European medal coming out of the gold colour, and it's going to take of course lots of preparation to take down the USA programs, who of course have had such glorious success year on year.
Indeed, but the French came so close last year. 10 of these players actually part of that gold medal game a year ago at EYUC in Poland. So they're not new to this surface, this surrounding. And I think what the French coaches said to us was some of the players that are on their first rotation of that French team, and of course have many more to come, they have improved so much. They have learned so much and have been included into this machine that is the French team.
Well, still lots of development work going into the youth programs across these European nations. It was not the most satisfying finish for the French at the European seniors level a couple of weeks ago in Limerick. They took a loss to Great Britain 15-9 back in quarter-finals, ended up playing through for the 6th position. So this the future of feminine ultimate in France. So salut to all of you families back home watching this live stream. If this is your first game of ultimate Frisbee coverage, if you're perhaps a relative of one of these young athletes in front of us, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you alongside. If you want to, and certainly have the skills to do so, feel free to like and subscribe here on ULTI.TV, keeping all of these streams free to watch live and on demand as best we can. And part of that is becoming patrons of Ultimate Art. I'm calling this art, Christina.
Of course it is.
And of course we also have to give a shout out to Ciao Mama, but also Ciao Papa dell'Italia. Because of course in the opening game we gave a shout out to the mamas, but not the papas. Very important to have all of the parents getting involved, supporting.
I mean, it takes two, doesn't it?
Well, sometimes it just takes the one to raise an ultimate athlete. Of course, shout out to those of you doing it, the single parent game as well. Massive respect, but it takes a village, I think, to create these amazing athletic programs, and certainly a village of all the team managers, the physios, the medics. It's certainly been a real big improvement, I think, the last couple of seasons post-pandemic, of having so many medical staff on hand, athletic trainers, really just raising the game of this incredible sport to even more lofty heights.
It does make a difference to have this additional knowledge, to have someone who knows the team already as an athletic trainer, or just knows the tweaks and the little things that hurt certain players, of course, anything can happen. So we see some strapped feet and legs, and one or the other knee brace on both sides, actually. I know Anna Bergamaschi, an Italian playing for the French, has set out some of the games. Had a hamstring injury, I think, earlier in the week, but is heavily strapped and ready to play. And I think one of the difference makers for the French team, if she is fit and can do her work on offense, that's going to be a very important piece of that clock. The French have as their mantra.
Indeed, if one part of the clock is broken, the time is not correct. But I do believe the player you mentioned was not catered up for the previous matchup between these two teams indeed. To talk us through the sort of previous game, I know both teams will be starting from scratch and ignoring the fact that they played each other already in this championship. Certainly a key part of the mental game for the Italians. There were 2 clean holes to get us underway, in fact 3, sorry, and then 2 on the bounce for the French was just the rhythm. They kept pecking away at the scoreline over and over. Of course, big pieces of that was Zoe Forget and Camille Blanc getting blocks all over the shop. Of course, Forget, one of the taller players on this big French roster. That's a key thing you have to deal with when you're playing against this young French side. They have a couple of very tall athletes, but I do believe, Christina, with 2 Italian teams in finals, because this is only one of 3 that we're bringing you live today, folks, you lucky, lucky viewers. There are 2 Italian teams in finals and 2 French teams in finals. So players have actually travelled specifically to come to the stadium today. They had plans to do other things this weekend and they have cancelled them. But you can watch them from wherever you like, folks, because we've reserved you the best seat over here on this near sideline to bring you every moment of finals day in Padova. So the time has just started. Game clock, 100 minutes of regulation time here at the European youth level. 15, the points cap. But will we make it there, or will these 2 teams tussle their way through the next 100 minutes? Any predictions, Christina? Are we going to get a universe point finish?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a hard-fought match, and I think I'm going to go with the French to win. And my stat line is going to be 13-11.
Whoa. Well, there we go. Bold score predictions. I'm going to keep mine in the pocket. But I'm certainly very excited to see what this French side will deliver us. And if the Italians can fight their way through and go home, they're not going to have too far to go. But that pull goes way out of bounds, far too far. So a brick will be taken. You can see the freshly lined cross where will be brought into play by Teresa Brugnoli. And immediately the horizontal stack, Bisceglia going towards the end zone, double cutting underneath, but Necroni absolutely fine enough. Grossi, key distributor for this Italian side. He's got an arm like a cannon. Lovely lead to Brugnoli. Hot pressure, but exploited immediately by Bisceglia. Now back with Grossi. Spinning all the way around the back. The French stands calling for support in the defense. That one's going to have to go back. Bisceglia.
Double biceps flex. That's a pick in the middle of the pitch.
Brugnoli. High stall release round the back of the mark, and there is the streaking run through bid. Fantastic defense for the French. Looks like Maton from this distance. Underneath for the big shirt, Bertordeau. Huge athlete now, centering to Cladel. Oh, what a quick counter-attack this is. There's plenty of loft underneath it, but that is going to escape the intended receiver by quite a few yards. Too much zest
Perez wanted to get that bookends run through block and also that score in the end zone. Lacoste Lefebvre distributing that one, but a bit too much air underneath it. That field might just not be long enough.
Well, power position by virtue of those feisty forehand throws, but sometimes that power is a little bit too much to handle. Upline cut for Grossi. Huge effort on the layup, but what a redemption snag! Zoe Forget trying to pile on all the pressure on the back of Lucrezia Grossi, but she manages to escape with disc in hand. Bisceglia shoots a little bit too far for Melinda Amati.
Tried to fly through, but that disc hits the ground only.
Bertoldo on the far sideline. Pops through the centering pass to Blanc. Forget. Oh, that's a lovely, lofty, high release pass, easily into the path. I have to say, for such a large athlete, Perrine Bertoldo rarely is asked to come up with too much magic and use her vertical advantage by the French. Yet another one straight into the breadbasket, all from that high release backhand from Zoe Forget.
Interesting matchup. They're putting Melinda Amati on her. The height difference a bit bigger than some of the other athletes there, but couldn't really do anything to stop that tall frame from getting that point on, and that's the first break. Oh.
Yep, to start us off, well, quite the difference from the last we had. That was all about holding, but quite a few turnovers in that point. Forget, who we saw playing back with the Bordeaux side at the European Beach Ultimate Championships a few months ago. At this point, it's been a long old season, but it's been a beautiful one to watch. But Bertoldo, shocking fact for you, Christina, this is the first sport she's ever played. Despite being 188 centimetres tall at the end of the French line there, number 52, this is the first time she's ever really taken to the field for any sporting magic. So she's just, actually no, I tell you what, it's her first team sport. There we go. She did athletics for 9 years. I take it back.
Yeah, I was wondering. But 5 years already, so she was 13 when she started. That is, that is a good age to start. Don't have to do too much before that either.
So a response from the Italians required here to the questions that the French defense is asking. And that's a beautiful piece of work out of the number 93. Can it be redeemed? Oh my goodness, that was a huge grab by Ariana Ascari, but it might be called out of bounds by Blanc.
Ascari turned on the jets and launched herself in the end. We'll get the benefit of the replay. I think that was Peroni with the big launch there, and Ascari jumps.
Oh, that back knee.
I think the knee was in first, and that's the score. All the French players around our VA, sorry, call it a goal, and that one just perfect body control, getting the knees down first.
And some mic mishandling for the stadium announcers to our right. But that was a fantastic grab, a big shot out of Alessandra Pivetta. But that was all about the redemption. Ascari putting in the work. And you have to say, the confidence, I mean, we call it VA or VAR. I mean, it's still R because it's just the athletes who are the referees here because of this wonderful self-officiated sport. For those of you who might be not cognizant of that, there are no referees whatsoever in Ultimate. Occasionally you have, at the world's level, game advisors to help with translation issues, to make sure that knowledge of the rules is strong amongst all these athletes. And of course, anyone who's played a recent European or Worlds level event will know that you have to do a rules accreditation for a certain number of your squad to make sure that everybody knows what should be going on and when. And even these youth athletes, generally speaking, have had wonderful spirit of the game and also wonderful rules knowledge and use. So 1 break and 1 hold so far in this game. First look at the French offense, but we're going to see quite a few of the same players out here already pulling some power lines.
Pulled the power line early, and that one just so stacked.
So Lacoste Lefebvre working in the backspace alongside Mepecondiasson. Already mentioned to watch out for her. Forget in the center of the Italian zone. Just off to the races, giving and going. A cascading offense. Wind conditions relatively low here in the stadium. Just a gentle caressing breeze to take the worst of the heat off the backs. Bardin popping back. Lacoste Lefebvre. Oh, and a nice gainer on this near side. Just a few meters, but good lateral swinging to the tall frame of Padova.
Not a lot of pressure by that Italian zone, just preventing anything going upfield, but the handlers not too stressed for the French side.
I don't mind that. In terms of the rapid athletes on this French women's side and the size of them, you do want to just find something that tries to contain and control the heat. Now as the field compresses, the pressure starts to mount that a little bit more. Pironi working on the mark alongside Giordani. Mepecondiasson with a sky-rocketing roll curve backhand. Blanc looking for the give-go. And oh, they're going to swipe that way too high. Well, the overconfidence maybe there for Camille Blanc, overshooting. And how do you do it? Zoe Forget.
I think that just came out of the hands awkwardly. Wanted to give and go and put in a score quickly, and not really jumping by the French receiver. That one bounces off the hands, and Italy with a break chance of their own.
Giovanni over across. Oh, that is a huge throw from Claire Beanie. Can it be rescued? It is under the hot pressure. What a fantastic reception from the number 11, Martinini. Throws the goal as well. And the fans are delighted. Laura Briolini with the goal for the Italians, and that's a break back.
Indeed, they get the break back, the one they lost early on in that game. And what a performance for these Italians. Beanie stepping up to the task in this gold medal game. It only took them 5 passes. We see that box out, Martinini jumping up high, faking into the middle, and putting that score in for herself. Briolini getting on a score. There, the first one of stat.
Well,
see the drone footage of that again. Beanie with that big hug. And then just in front of the end zone is Martinini, and she's going to put it in there. Up the line for the score. You see our Eurodisc best perspective drone footage that will give you the aerial shot. One I really love because you can additionally to the disc movement, you can see cuts develop.
Well, bringing you all the angles. If you want us to have more cameras set up, more field streamed, you know what to do, folks. Like, subscribe, become a patron ULTI.TV bringing you free live coverage and on demand via YouTube. Oh, a beautiful flick over the top, nearly some traffic underneath it, but Sirioni has to pull out of the bid, and a find again, just straight into the chest of the number 52. Perrine Bertaudeau finds the space, but it's going to be called potentially not in. Nope, after discussion, the goal will indeed stand, and Forget jumping into the arms of Bertaudeau.
Of course, looking at that help defense, I'm going to call it that Sironi put in from the back, that was very well called away. And then the French really use that open player. You see here, Forget puts it into space for Bertaudeau, and she used the fact that Forget got a little bit of attention on that far side, and then that spot was open to put that disc into Forget, and they called it not in because she jumped, but it did seem like she jumped early enough for this to be a score, and some of the Italian players on the pitch also called it in, so that it worked. Great spirit by them.
Do you know what I don't like about that defense? There's nobody on the sideline providing support. You've got plenty of room. There's an athlete line that you have to stay behind, but the spectators are kept behind that hard second or third as far as the goal, like kind of, the field lines are concerned. But there's no one but players in front of that spectator line here at this European level. So to have nobody there on the sidelines really supporting that deep sort of set of three in the zone, not communicating that kind of, big poach in, because, as you say, they weren't quite heads up enough, but that's a great snag in the center of the pitch for Negroni. Villa and Grossi. Of course, Villa wearing one of the tournament's player gift hats at this European Championship. She's got it on cowgirl style. And she tries to jink and dance in front of the Grossi to get herself available. Pivetta, who had that big launch for the first goal for the Italians a few points ago. Villa now has Brugnoli poached off, takes it. Easy swinging across to Grossi.
That matchup defense by the French really putting pressure on the Italians, but they find another valve.
Big shot that might sail a little bit too far to be caught, and it does indeed, just sinks out of bounds.
Negroni trying something, but only running into that European Ultimate Federation banner, and the disc floating behind it. That one, I think, never really in bounds, so a good position for the French to walk all the way to another break.
Well, the intense match coverage perhaps frustrating the Italians, a bit of denial defense. And oftentimes coaches will talk about not throwing into the same third if you're trying to be expansive. Perhaps something a bit more ambitious towards the break side. I mean, these French marks are no slouches.
Absolutely not. I do love the continuation on the break side, though, because that matchup coverage from the French is so tight and so good that really it might be the only way to get through, to step outside those marks.
So looking for the around, Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre. Going to have to shoot something up line. It's a big put and just trying to shutter it away. Oh my goodness, Zoe Forget. What a fantastic bid. A stall out is going to be called on the throw though, so we may have to see that one roll back. But I thought that Lucia Negroni had position there.
Did indeed, and I just saw a funny signal put to the coaches by Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre. She's like, no, not a stall out. Don't you worry, I got that one off in time.
Well, of course, we have virtue being able to watch the replay back. I mean, you can scrobble back on YouTube yourself and count if you fancy it, but of course it's all about how the players on the field have determined it. But either way, I'm glad we caught that bid from Zoe Forget on our cameras, because that was something quite terrific.
Grossi really argued her way through that with heart, body and soul, but Lacoste-Lefebvre sure of herself, which we love to see at a young age, especially on the Frisbee pitch.
Well, and still a very cordial discussion. So we're going to get exactly the same throw again, this time surely. Oh my goodness, Zoe Forget. And another stall-out call. There was a bit of a dance around the mark and all the way around the world. Got several stamps in the passport, did Lacoste-Lefebvre, and the watching audience live do not enjoy that very much at all.
And I gotta say, in this situation, she has 2 full seconds. She faked once and then immediately put that into space. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, from the hand slap moment, I've just scrabbled back myself on YouTube. I think there's a reasonable argument for the position of Grossi. It was certainly, you know, a moment where she had sort of the one fake, then span around and released. So that could well take a full 2 seconds of the clock. But I don't know. Either way, to go for exactly the same option and having precisely the same outcome on an even loftier throw, Zoe Forget answering every question being asked of her.
We can do that again. I'd love to see it a third time, because it was also the same player who got that score. Le Chamoine in a good continuation position for the up-the-line score.
All right, so back we go again. What do you reckon? Massive backhand hook around the mark. Nope, just that straight shot. And again, Zoe Forget this time getting herself on the stats board. Well, a score so nice they did it thrice. And 3-2 to the French over the Italians with another break of score.
I haven't seen that before. The exact same throw 3 times in a row. And that one, Forget, she likes the assists. She likes the goals even more. It's pretty intense, that break. Of course, a bit lucky on the French side, as Lacoste-Lefebvre actually walked it in and started the play after that disc went out of bounds. Having to do that 3 times just really does take a lot of composure.
Well, Parisienne throwing form for the young 18-year-old. She's been playing since she was 10 years old as Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre. Not a Yakito though, not a Yaka player. She plays for UPA Saint-Prix, her main club. She's also represented Frisbee from Blois, of course, which if you're not familiar with Frisbee, where have you been for the last couple of seasons? And Manchon from Le Mans and RFO from Ile-de-Ré, which of course wasn't too far from where those beach championships were a couple of months ago. But of course was one of the returning players, Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre, from that silver medal winning team back at the Joint Juniors in Wrocław last year. So a big part of this French side and a big part of the community back home. But the Italians still keeping themselves in this game, trying everything they can. Brugnoli. Beautiful around pass, but it's going to sink and sail a little bit too far for the intended target of Alessandra Pivetta.
You see that French pressure again. They have to put these discs low and wide.
Condiasson with a high release. No continuation down that break side this time for the French. Just an easy one into the breadbasket of Blanc. Still count rising for Camille. She shoots and immediately scores, though under pressure. There is a miscue found in the end zone, and that one will be taken easily by Noémie Guibercholet.
Guibercholet really using no one marking her to perfection, and good vision by Blanc, who was under pressure a little bit. Looked for the up the line, actually, the reset handler position, but then seeing a very open player on that up the line cut. You see it positioned now, and then miscue by Pivetta, who tries her everything, short from laying out. The French are now with a 3-point run up there with the better energy early in that first half. When they broke for the first point, I was like, okay, they're here to play. And Italy came right back, got that break right back as well. And we'll see if they can get back 2 now, maybe 2 breaks. After a score, of course.
Well, the Italians all on the field, circled up together to try and bring themselves back to a family affair. Of course, some surnames we're used to seeing at the seniors level. Of course, we have the small Pancotti, Giorgia Pancotti, in the number 42 shirt. Haven't said her name too much. I think she's on the Italian D line. But trying to fight to keep the game within reach, because the French are starting to open up the scoreline margin. They are pulling the same 7 a lot, are the French women. Athletes such as Mabicon Diasson, who you see there readying for the pole, alongside Lacoste Lefebvre, Bertaudeau, Forget, getting a lot of playtime in the early stages. I'm sure the French, if they start to pull away, will open things up to give big game experience to their younger athletes. Of course, we did already mention a couple of people. It's their first time out representing the French women at the under-20s level. So you see Lucrezia Grossi slowly, stately walk to the brick mark with another out-of-bounds pull from the French. Grossi moving the disc between both hands to try and confuse the mark of Bertaudeau, but it's going to be a slap down away from Zoe Forget. Brugnoli not active enough to make the reception. Lacoste Lefebvre looking for the immediate counter-attack. Mabicon Diasson on the far sideline. But a pick is going to give us a moment of pause, because even though Zoe Forget is an amazing athlete, she's rarely that free.
Indeed, players pointing to that other side of the end zone, far side. Maybe something fancy we'll see out of Mabicon Diasson.
Well, their coaches told them to be calm, cool and controlled and picture perfect, and that one hotly contested by the peel off from Grossi, but cannot stop Camille Blanc, the machine for the French side, putting in another stat for the board. 6 years playing, started when she was just 11 years old, and that will be a timeout called by these players. So as they take a break on the field, we will too in the booth. Don't go anywhere though, folks. The stands and the fans getting fans on themselves, because this game is heating up.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
Oh my, somehow they do it!
Timeout being taken here in the women's final at the Youth European Ultimate Championships 2023. The French tearing open the stands here. 5-2 their score. 4 unanswered in a row for the French nation. Of course, many of the Italian Ultimate fans here live in the stands in Padova. But we see you in the live chat getting excited for these French players. And we see a couple of rotations through on the lines here for the defense, Christina.
Indeed, 3 points in a row, maybe even 4 that the stars we've been mentioning time and time again have taken in, and now they get a breather after the timeout as well. Some younger athletes on there for the French. The Italians will do everything, though, to get a point on the board.
Well, the pull coming out for this French side from the number 16, Sarin. Negroni finding Ascari, who of course got that hero maker of a layout grab for that Italian score earlier on in the game. Pivetta finding Negroni in the centre pocket. Frantic movement all over the field. Martinini puts up a big one into the back corner, and a second goal for Arianna Ascari.
Ascari, one of the speedsters on that team, just running tirelessly, getting her second score of that game. Not quite clean offense in terms of distribution, so double cuts every now and again, but that also opened up one side of the pitch for Ascari and Ascari alone. See that high release, and Martinini with loads of confidence on that put.
Yeah, not enough of a flash from the mark to prevent that beautiful continuation all the way to the bank. As you say, things looking a little bit mixed up.
I think you can definitely feel the must-score energy on the Italians. They're a bit hasty, and that works for them. It works often and good, because they're not a team that isolate one person and depend on one person. I think we've mentioned that enough. A lot of players distributing and giving their little piece to a bigger side. But then if too many people want to do it all, be that hero maker, it won't work on the long run.
Well, the Italian fans trying to get their team involved. Of course, more break chances for the French than for the Italians in this match. They have had one opportunity to snaffle one back from their opponents, have the Italians. Of course, that third goal of the game. That was ruled in by Brugnoli. But a zone now for the Italians. This, of course, the look that gave them the turnover, as they tried to be that one squeaked into Zoe Forget with the continuation through the centre. Forget now far side. Oh, that one nearly knocked out of contention, but a great recatch from Trousseau. Mebekondiasson laces the flick to the near side. Good confidence and solid spacing from this French side, as the Italians continue to try and put as much pressure around the disc as possible to slow down the speed and pace of the French offense. Trousseau to the far side.
And even though the Italians are kind of controlling the defense, the French definitely control the pace of this game.
Well, it really has just been about how many breaks they've managed to get in this first half. But it ain't over till it's over. We've still got just under 70 minutes left to play here. The only question in my mind is, are the French going to get themselves to 15? A solid performance in terms of these second efforts on the catches. They bobble the disc, but they keep their eyes on it. Mebekondiasson with their eyes on Lacoste Lefebvre, who has no options streaking towards the deep space. Forget deciding to be a bit more conservative. Oh, nearly the run-through from Arianna Ascari. Just not quite quick enough. But that looked threatening as it gets. Mebekondiasson taking the negative yards to Padova. Players upfield just trotting around. They don't need to waste their energy here. Lacoste Lefebvre fakes the high one, has Forget. Still Zoe Forget on this near sideline with the arms in the air. Opens up the central possession to Camille Blanc. Of course, it's all about keeping your spacing to attack the zone. Charging through from behind at the moment is the option the French are choosing, with the occasional one over the top, just like that. What beautiful form, and it's an easy pop this time. No mistakes on the pass to Zoe Forget for another goal.
The French just working so calmly, going back into their own end zone, really kind of pressured, but also just controlled pressure, if you want to, if you can say that, and then working it up the pitch. And we saw Zoe Forget put her hands up, saying like, "Hey, I'm open, put it to me," but it wasn't necessary to take the daring shot from one side to the other, because there were other people, but it was still so important for Forget to stay there and not get into that mix of players around the disc.
Well, exactly right. That was the play that was to get a look at that recatch, the great focus from Camille Blanc. But it's all about keeping your space. It's, you know, true team sport effort when you're playing against a zone in particular. You have to kind of stay out of the way, find the spaces, work together, and it was Zoe Forget's presence on this near sideline, making herself even bigger, using every inch of that big old frame that distracted the zone and allowed that inside shot to set things up so nicely in the centre pocket to Camille Blanc. Just another look at one of those high release slicks. There is very little wind here. Barely are the flags on the far sideline from our wonderful sponsors of this European Youth Championships fluttering in the breeze. Occasionally it just gusts through. As I say, it's, of course, this is the morning game slot here for finals day. The heat of the afternoon is yet to arrive upon us, but certainly it's nice to have that little flutter of breeze for the athletes, because it is hot here in Italy. Grassini, although of course being used to this heat are the Italian athletes, because they live here. Grossi, that hammer fake, haven't seen any overheads out of her so far in this game, but we know she's got a deep case of throws. And the French choosing a great option on their zone, really staying very far away from the handler set. So saying, yeah, go on, throw over us, have a go.
Tall frames, of course, in the backfield, daring these shots. Berthoudot and Blanc.
Well, Camille Blanc, in fact, she's not actually that tall. She's just so good in terms of her vertical athletic abilities. Uses every centimetre of her height to diamond perfection. That's 173 centimetres. But this is nice patience in response. The Italian saying, all right then, you can patiently work it through a zone, we will too. Plenty of space on the far sideline for Martinini. There we go, they do indeed take it. Got to be confident with these shots, keep your width. Moving the disc nicely on the lateral.
The second line of the Italians actually working well together and overloading. And
nice easy hammer. A rudimentary throw for Grossi, but that's going to be smacked down. A little bit of contact afterwards, but nothing was going to stop Le Chamois from getting that block. Lacoste Lefebvre to pick it up. Berthoudot. Oh, that's a slightly ambitious throw from Berthoudot, and it's not going to come in. A little bit of an attempt at a greatest, but I'm fairly sure the player was already out of bounds.
Indeed, also the defense close enough to the player that a play like that would have taken a load of body contact, I believe. Valiant effort, though. We appreciate it.
Well, we've seen quite a few greatests successfully executed at this European Youth Championships, which is absolutely fabulous. Of course, they're not bringing it in where they should. That one did, of course, come out of bounds, so should have been by that cone, but of course, we don't mind. The happiness of the players to continue is all that is required. Martinini on the far side. Nice link up line to Bichelia. Oh, but that is going to be way too far. Plenty of room from the up line cut from Pivetta, but too much juice.
Yeah, that one arced into the middle of the pitch a little too much.
So picking up Perez. That one beautifully weighted to Blanc, who calls the timeout. I don't mind that. I'm not really a massive fan of in-play active timeouts, but I think probably everyone on the field feeling a little bit of tiredness for the French side, so they're going to have a little think about it. But as the athletes on the field take a break, we're going to think too, can the Italians bring this one back, trailing to the French 6-3?
Yes, he will.
The lovely did. Timeout being taken by the French. Live play in front of us here in the women's final. 6-3 the current score. The last EYUC medal was won by the French women's side 15-8. And I think we might be on for potentially a very similar scoreline here, Christina.
Indeed, it would take something very different from the Italians to keep with the French. They just look unsurmountable in a way, especially because the big stars, the important players are pulling double and triple duties. They haven't had too hard of a time during that tournament and probably are well rested, some of them.
Yeah, I really don't mind this of actually pulling a very similar 7 repeatedly during the early course of this match. It shows the confidence, the confiance of the French women's side. But this is fantastic player marking. Can they escape? Berthaudot finally being asked to do something a little bit special. The athletics athlete pulls out a layout redemption, using that big frame to deny, and Camille Blanc posting in the score to Jade Gledel. Another break for the French to put themselves within one of the half.
And everything the Italians put out in defense, the French can respond to with ease. Closing up those up-the-line shots, they still get them. Help defenders. They find the window to break it through into the middle. That is just such good offense. I think the French coaches might have hidden that wand we talked about somewhere in their pockets.
The baguette magique. I mean, all they said on defense was they just didn't want to fall in the holes on the pitch. That was the only thing they wish they could, fix in time, make sure was consistent. They backed themselves to get everything else right just by default. Karim Berthaudot finally being asked to do something a little bit special. She comes from Magic Disc Angers, her current club. And massive shout out to all of the francophones in the live chat. Lovely to have you along with us. But there are some Italian words being popped into the live chat too. Do hit the thumbs up button on this game, because of course we're trying to play best the algorithm here on our YouTube live streams. Of course, bringing you free coverage of this European Youth Ultimate Championships. ULTI.TV.com patreon.com/ULTI.TV even, if you want to help monetarily support us. It's a pay what you can system. You can go all the way up to even being a sponsored team. And of course, if you choose to become a patron team, we will favour you in terms of our live stream coverage. We even would, you know, maybe do a documentary about your team if you wanted us to. But either way, we'll keep our eyes on the field here as the Italians look to stay alive. The great chances, they're still just the 100% conversion rate for this Italian women's side, but they just are not getting much of a look in. They just have to hold on to their offense here. Grossini. Oh, what an absolute rocket of a flick that is to Briolini. Corradini now. Niccoloni. Villa. You can see the French defense now trying to keep Grossi away from the disc. Rivetti. Oh, what a beautiful backhand that is. Can it be redeemed? Nearly. Just not quite. A really lovely bit of offense from the Italian women, though.
Briolini with that big layout, trying everything and keeping her body inbounds as well. But that just a little too far.
Yeah, just needed to be held for a heartbeat, and that would have been on the money for sure. Are those some Tokai cleats there I spy on Briolini?
Good choice of footwear.
Absolutely. Gripping all the way to that layout bit. Of course, Tokai, one of our wonderful sponsors here. Other cleat providers are out there, but I'm not sure they're quite as nice in customer service and in product as well. Mabicon Diasson shoots into the centre. Easy reception for Gledel. Bit of give and go between the 7 and 8. But they deny that one. Negroni holding the force nice and strong. Just having to grind their way to the open side. Trousseau. Mabicon Diasson just turning on the jets on those neon boots. Sitting in the scuba. Oh, what a way to score, but it's going to be ground stripped. Great effort, but that one cannot be brought in by Keona Semendo. So the Italians, the full stretch of the field to go, but they had beautiful offense before that just had a bit of last pass syndrome. Villa all the way across, but that one is going to escape the rundown. Anna Passini running out of room on the far side.
I've talked about that energy before on the Italian side, the must-score kind of feeling, and I get that here again. The French just putting that tiny bit of enough pressure on there.
Well, they're sitting heavy under the weight of 5 breaks of score and a timeout being taken on the far side by Carolina Mapecon Diasson. I think the French are cognizant of how close we are to the half, because of course you don't use them, you lose them. Your 2 timeouts per half in this final. So as the French have a think about what they're going to do coming back out of this timeout, we'll have a think about it too. Don't go anywhere though. The French women leading 7-3 over the Italians.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Beautiful Padova city, or Padua for the locals here in the Italian nation. And the fans in the stands getting a little bit quiet as the French women have taken a charging lead, 7-3, 5 breaks of score. The Italians did get a break back in the early stages, but at the moment, it's all about the athletes in blue. Mabekon Diasson on the far sideline being squeezed by the force of Negroni, perhaps a little bit of a marking infraction as the two players discuss.
We've seen every marking infraction this weekend. Week.
Oh, but a hand block for Negroni. That could be a huge opportunity. This, of course, the Italians' offense, but a quick hold here would help give them a little bit extra confidence. Pivetta just pops it back to Villa. Grossi now. Match coverage required for the counter response for this French side. Pivetta puts it out on a string in the end zone, and it's the goal for the Italians. This time they find Laura Briolini with ease.
And that one is a change of energy for the Italians. They were within the one pass of half where the French and the Italians, with the huge hand block out of Negroni, puts the team on her back. No monkeys, just the team on her back. And that one for the score. We'll get a replay of that again. The coach just in the back, and that one just smacked it down.
Do you think that was a little bit of kind of, you know, oftentimes when you're on the sideline, your team's on defense, you're giving that help, the kind of, you know, saying where the threats are, saying where the player is looking. Do you think that was a team defensive effort on that hand block?
Of course. I think you've talked about the lack of help from the sideline before, and Italy have maybe gotten over that, and just knowing how much importance energy from the sideline and helping your players, being the eyes that Negroni cannot have, because of course it's in the back of her head, and who has eyes in the back of their heads? But that one just so good for Italy.
Yeah, I'm all for getting yourself in the shade, focusing on your recovery, making sure you're staying nicely hydrated at this championship level, but I'm also more of a fan of following the play, following the disc, making sure you're hustling up and down that sideline, because realistically, when you've got a large squad at any championship event, sometimes, of course, you go all the way up to the full roster cap of, it could be as high as 28 players. So actually, there are 4 full rotations of 7 of those lines, so you can really afford to just, you know, not maybe sprint your way all the way up and down the sideline, but just put yourself within reach of vocal range. But of course, as commentators, we have very large vocal ranges indeed. So France coming out on offense. Lacoste Lefebvre on the far side takes a big old bump from the mark and gets cleated as the Italian player. But I think she probably put herself in a little bit in the danger zone, did Stefani. So another Italian zone, just requiring patient offense from the French. Faking everywhere. Just moving nicely. Le Proux. The first times we've seen the number 6 for the French coming out on the field. She was very useful in the last game against this Italian side. Got herself quite a few stats. A little jink. Oh, the pace of Lacoste Lefebvre. She tries to break through that cut, but the French unable to make too much distance through the back set. Now, Bardin. Stall count starting to rise, just about escapes to Lacoste Lefebvre. This is really lovely zone coverage from the Italians. Lacoste Lefebvre with the jinx. Back and forth. Oh, just about holds on to it. Desforget. You've got to be good to be lucky, but that was a little bit of extra luck as well. Dumas now. Lacoste Lefebvre, just that anchor presence. Perroux now. Up line. again, fantastic containment all the way down the pitch. Peru trying to inject a little bit of pace, but isn't able to slice through the cup as she wanted. Bardin now. Lacoste-Lefebvre. No continuation upfield. Everyone just staying patient. Slowly taking the yards they're being given. Now a little bit of an escape now. Can they make it all the way through? Lacoste-Lefebvre trying to give an option. Taking away the mark. Oh, but giving up the one in front for the goal. Trying to put the pressure up, but it's going to be the goal for Lisa Lechamon.
And that one again popped in casually after a lot of work required by the French offense and the Italians really pushing them. And this time I felt like they were directing the motion of the disc a bit better. But this one for half, of course, in the end, a clean hold again for France. Pressure, but not enough pressure to cause the defense, to cause a change of possession, of energy.
Well, yet again, the French double up the scoreline here, taking half 8-4 over the Italians. Big shout out to Hero2 in the live chat, informing us about the new roster cap of 26 players. We will bring you, though, our Tokai halftime show after a brief break for these messages. Don't go anywhere, folks. The halftime here in the women's final. Welcome back here, half-time at the European Youth Ultimate Championships, and you just got a sneaky look behind the scenes at our wonderful stats keeper, Elia Giardin. As we get the half-time show sponsored by Tokai Ultimate Cleats, the music on the sideline starting to rise. You might be able to pick it up through our headphones, but it's all been about the French on the rise. What a redemption that was in the early stages for Crossi, where this game felt a lot different, Christina.
Indeed, it did. That one, just after this first break the French got in Italy, go back with that second break. I think that was the first hold from Italy. Ascari in the back, perfect body control and getting those knees down.
Well, Ascari has received 2 of the 4 Italian goals so far this game. Briolini, the number 3, the other 2 receptions. And Pivetta and Martinini snaffling up this assist on the scoreboard. But that was the score so nice they did it thrice. 3 times of asking. Forget with an assist twice and then finally a goal.
I think that was number 2 we saw there. Big defensive presence down there, and that's, I think, the 3rd shot that jumps over the defense. Or the defense jumps, but under the disc, rather.
And you can see the dismay on the defenders so many times, especially Lucia Negroni on that play. I think first and second, it looked like she had the best opportunity to make a play, but they're just missing the disc by a hair when they play defense.
That expansive defense. First shot D for France. First break they got after the trade out. And then they went on some kind of a run.
Oh, some kind of a run indeed, taking us all the way from 2 apiece to 5-2 in favour of the French. There have been moments of brilliance. Just the smackdown there. Heads up play from Lisa Lechamon, who then, of course, went on to score the goal that took us here to the half-time. And it really is all about this French women's team. They just have that little bit of something extra, Christina, but I feel like maybe that's just the mentality change. The Italians know they've already suffered a defeat to the French, and they have looked so class throughout the course of this tournament. A little bit of a contrast, of course, to their open team, who will be playing in the 3rd final today, who looked all the business at the beginning of the championship, but suffered some really tight ones against their opponents, rather than sailing through like the women's team has here.
Indeed, we talked about the pressure on these teams. Not quite. Maybe the men have not been quite tested. The Italians, the Italian women's side, have been tested once or even twice, getting close wins, rather close wins against one or the other team already. But the French just better at that, really.
They are indeed showing a little bit of something extra, but anything can happen, and anything can certainly happen at the European Youth Ultimate Championships. We have seen scorelines turned around, of course. Can we fail to mention the Austrian women's comeback from 4-11 down to a universe point win against their familiar rivals, the German women's program?
Well, I'd love to mention that. I think, especially in the youth division, it is often just not as important to get breaks, but rather to keep energy high and get those breaks back.
Well, that is the opinion of the Italian coaches. I know we've just been treated live to a little dance show in front of the fans in the stands, but it looks like the Italians at the moment, they're just warming up, getting their throws sort of together, just trying to put the first half behind them. I think at this point, we're not quite at the level where you're just playing the second half for developing your program, but anything could occur. Well, thank you very much to Tokai for sponsoring our halftime show. Of course, we do have their lovely flag behind us, and we've already mentioned the quality of their product on the field. We will be back, though, with the second half of this match in a few moments. Can the French sail through to a gold medal? Half-time here in the women's final at the Youth European Ultimate Championships 2023. And you see there on the drone, that's the next two opponents warming up on the field behind us, and our Tokai cleats there. Great shot from Cam too. But, of course, that will be a rematch of the last European Championship we had. Switzerland versus Hungary in the mixed division. And maybe a flip reverse of fortunes for the open division. We already mentioned that in our little Tokai halftime show. But at the moment, Francophone fans will be very happy indeed. Padova finally being asked to do something a little bit special on our live stream. We saw her get a layout save for a rather quirky pass. But I feel like this is a big advantage for the French women. They are being so clinical so frequently that actually when they do have those slight missteps, those miscues, it's very easy to forget the issue and just continue moving forward like a juggernaut. Of the breaks that the French have gotten in this game, Christina, only one has required a second try.
They have been clinical on offense, on defense, and when getting that disc back. If they did lose it, and I think they only lost it 3 times in the course of this game, maybe. And that is also just really impressive. We have 8 break chances. But let's look at that. Italy had 1 break chance, and they got that one as well. Whereas France had 8 and got 5 of them. And I don't know how much that says off the stats, but it's impressive to have 100% completion on your break chances. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's a moment of pride for the Italians, and I'm sure they'll have plenty more through the course of this championship final. Of course, there's so much wonderful experience, and here's a fact for you. The French will only be losing 4 of their athletes the next rotation round of juniors. Just 4. They have 10 with experience from the World Final against the USA that, of course, they narrowly missed a gold for. So watch out, world. The French women's program is delivering fantastic athletes. They've got many seasons left, and of course we'll see them representing at the seniors level as their brilliant careers continue to charge forth. Camille Blanc charging up this near sideline. Berthaudot puts out a fantastic flick into the wide open space for Zoe Forget. The 2 Titan players connecting. Oh my goodness, the vision on that throw, Christina. What a piece.
It is just impeccable. And if France can score like that, I don't know how the Italians could ever stop them. That was an expensive break side shot, a perfect continuation cut. Because you see Blanc in the middle goes out wide to the side, and the Italian player trying to stop that immediate continuation of the line, but she never wanted, Padova, she never wanted to go up the line. She wanted to go around, and Forget knew exactly where that one was going to be placed.
I'm wondering where maybe the force is on this defensive effort. As you say, maybe like that flash in front. Sort of, if the force is truly towards the sideline, that is nigh on pointless.
The Italians have played force middle against the French very effectively before, and I'm going to get out on a limb here, step out there, and say they wanted to do that again. And this is the way to play against force middle. Get it, move the switch sides, move from one side to the other.
And just wait for Zoe Forget to absolutely rinse her defensive matchup for speed to the far side. I mean, it's an interesting one because the previous force was very much forcing out of the pitch. So maybe some confusion, maybe that lack of belief kind of causing some issues in the minds of the Italian defenders. But either way, what a fantastic way to score in very fine fashion. 4 passes required for the French. But how do you stop that French offense? It's been a lot of zone play by the Italians. Grossi on this near sideline. There isn't a big attack immediately. Very tight force from Gledel on Pivetta. Brugnoli now. Fires one. Oh, lovely high release backhand break. Negroni. Softly, softly. Bisceglia. Now through. Back to Grossi. Eclizia Grossi looking for options. Oh, nice little soft jink move from Corradini. Now Grossi charging up line. Not really much movement in front of her, having to look for a reset. Just the last minute release and smashed out of contention by the French defender Noir Lazur with a block. And an injury called by Grossi, perhaps getting a bit winded there as she went for that late stall high release.
Walks off the field by her own though. Tries a second attempt as well. Does Brugnoli there, but France get a break opportunity again.
Well, another to add to the collection, but is it going to add to their conversion rate or take away? Negroni looking to apply the mark. Rebecca Diasson with the initial to Perez. Easy movement across the field to the open side. Gledel. Oh, that's proper movement to get away from your defender, but she's going to send it out of bounds. Camille Blanc did all the hard work towards the end zone, but not enough roll curve on that.
She had such a big separation by the end of it. Started off right next to her defensive matchup and then just turned on the jets, and I bet you that wasn't even full speed.
Sometimes, Christina, sometimes you watch a team play and you just think, gosh, I wish I could play for this team. And as someone, and both of us actually, we're both handlers. You're more of an O-line handler, aren't you, Christina?
Actually, I'm D-line most of the time.
Fair enough. 2 D-line handlers are here with you. I would love to be able to play with the likes of Camille Blanc and Zoe Forget because they do so much hard work for you, rinsing open the deep space. But of course, the heart and soul and passion with which the Italian women always play is an experience that cannot be surpassed as well. Pivetta on the near sideline. That one a little bit ambitious on the around. Blanc on the chase, but it's a layout save. The ground strip afterwards, but not quite. Hats off to Giulia Villa, who manages to keep her capello on. But what a play. The pressure from the match defense.
What I really love is the way she boxes out Blanc. Don't give her an angle to make the layer. Take your space and keep it there.
Well, even trying to get the best effort out of this Italian women's side, It's not quite working out the magic against these French women. The eyes on the prize for Camille Blanc on a slightly skew-if throw. Now, intense match coverage forcing the inside break. Negroni with Montpellier. Now a one-handed catch for Bertoldo. Oh, but a soft mark gives plenty of time to release. And it's a high grab for Jay Gledell for another score. And that will certainly take us into double digits, 10-4.
Gledell holding her space so well. The Italian defender had to back paddle. Also read that play very well, but the disc just arcing over her head. And Gledell, the former soccer player, with the soccer-like celebration as well. We'll give it to her this time.
I do like the crossover athletes coming in from the European soccer scene, especially in the women's division, where I haven't seen yet any of the soccer attitude coming through. Soccer mentality, soccer play style, but keeping the spirit nice and high. None of this kind of, flopping affair of saying, oh, you basically just touched me a little bit. I flop over here, I flop over there. This real, true athleticism, and a timeout being taken surely from the circling up of these two teams. We get another look at that fantastic grab from the French. Gledell making a name for herself here. But we'll be back with the second half continues. The French extending their lead with another break. 10-4 over the Italian women.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that helped to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it! Get there. Yes, he will. The lovely did.
Welcome back to the second half here at the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023 women's final at this under-20s level in front of us, and the French have opened up a can of smackdown defense on the Italian women. They are here, there and everywhere, but the Italians still fighting to keep themselves in this game and have had some fantastic moments. Still count high, but they do escape towards the back space. Negative yards, but Pancotti now underneath it. Martinini available on the up line, but takes the one across, breaking the mark to Passini. That one thrown directly at the floor, though, trying to connect with Sarah Fayet, who's had an amazing ascendance over the course of this championship. Bergmaskivi is going to throw the turnover. You can see a lot of tape on that leg. Bergamaschi even, of course, wasn't cleated up for the previous game against this Italian side, but it's nice to see her taking to the field in the championship winning game. If the French can win it, of course, it does look fairly certain, but a sky ball going to the front cone. Can Pancotti get there? She lays out, but narrowly misses it. But you cannot ask anything more from the player, Giorgia Pancotti.
Absolutely not. Bertolo was there, but Pancotti ran past her, slashed even. Touched that disc, but it was always trailing away.
Well, she's only 17 years old, is Giorgia Bancotti. Says her sporting hero is Scazzieri, but a turnover for the French. The attempt at the layout from Carla Sorin. Maybe some of these French athletes a little bit cold, having not seen too much action, but that's an amazing grab for Fayed, and she spikes it afterwards. What a fantastic snatch on the front corner.
That one so much needed. The 3 points for the French on the bounce again. Of course, they got back the disc after halftime, and this one goes in favor of the Italians. They bring it within 5.
Well, the monkey has gone from the back to the back of the head.
Do you think that means it's not physically on the back, but mentally in the head, where the monkey is right now for the Italians?
Absolutely, Christina. It is a case of, I think, for the Italian women trying to remind themselves of who they are, how far they've gotten in this championship. If we look, of course, at the mini bracket, of course, we didn't say too much about Martinini's rudimentary layout. We're just so used to seeing her reach that form because it was a pre-semis action, not rather than pre-quarterfinals, because of the 7-team strong division. But the Italians bested the Czech Republic 15-6 to get here into the gold medal game. Of course, massive shout out to the Czech Republic. 12-10 the score yesterday in the bronze medal match against the Austrians, who tried so hard, got so far, had universe point wins left, right and centre, but I think didn't quite rise to the challenge against the Czechs.
No, I remember them getting so many tries on defense, but never converting one, or not enough at least. Not sure about that one. I think they maybe got one of them, but it doesn't matter because a 4th place finish for Austria, that's not a bad thing to do.
Absolutely. 4th in Europe is no mean feat. And certainly it's a sad affair perhaps going out of this for the Italian women. They pretty much destroyed the rest of the pack in very similar fashion to their French opponents. 15-9, 15-6, 15-8, 15-9, 15-8. Like, those scorelines really do tell an amazing story of how talented this Italian women's side is. So can they get another break in this game to try and level things back up? Condiasson being asked to throw on a high stall count, and there is indeed a turnover generated. The hands go up, but they do not find the disc.
And that is one of the problems, I feel, or not playing many of your plays for quite some time and then putting them back up again. They have to get back into the rhythm, and the zone disturbs that rhythm.
Well, when you're 6 breaks against your opponents up, you can sort of afford to loosen your lines up and say, yeah, we want to get these players, these younger players, maybe some big game experience. These are big moments. Giovannini pops back to Grossi. Flat, easy backhand to Bivetta. Someone who we've seen throw some real fantastic breaks, and there's another, a pick call.
Quite some time ago, actually. Hands were waving while Pivetta was faking all the way.
Yeah, you can see a little moment there. Everyone else stops, but thankfully the throw is still caught, and it's going to be exactly the same space found again for Negroni. She squeezes one through, but it doesn't quite make it there. I do appreciate, though, the French sideline coming all the way to that far side end zone just to give themselves a bit more extra vocal support. So back on the charge, Italians with the zone in Callahan country. Well, a score here would really rise their game. There's a layout! Callahan for the Italians! What is happening? What is happening, Christina? Is that going to turn the nature of this game around for the Italian women?
In terms of energy, for sure. I love that action. You called it, honey. You said it just before it happened. A daring shot through the middle, and Grossi jumps up in there. No respect for her body there, and look at that getting into the middle there. You said it twice, Callahan country. Can they also get it? And they did. Ascari with the big mark, and then Grossi just How did she get both of her hands in between that? And then I actually love the little fact that Rossi wanted to spike it so bad, but Ascari came to hug her quickly, preventing that disc, that Euro disc, from being smashed any further.
Yeah, we're not a fan of edge down spike, us two. Some people are into that kind of action. We think, you know, certainly not with the playing disc. If you bring your own to destroy, then that's absolutely fine. But Lucrezia Grossi, what a fantastic play for the Rimini athlete. Started because her brother introduced her to this wonderful sport. Played for the Italians back last season and in 2019. So a true senior athlete here in this under-20s division. Coming up big with the plays for her side, and she will get straight back to business, coming out on defense, readying herself for the pull.
Saw her nodding to her coach, being like, yeah, I got this.
Well, you know, that was just easy, right? It's an easy thing to get a layout Callahan in a gold medal match. Of course it's not, but Grossi makes it look easy and gets us very excited. Well, can the Italians continue the momentum here?
See another power line for the French.
Yeah, no surprise there. They're bringing their best athletes back out. Lacoste Lefebvre in a central position. Takes them back to Mabakon-Diasson, who may have a monkey on her own back after throwing, of course, at Callahan. So the French, Pardin popping back to Mabakon-Diasson, Forget dishing back. High one across the board, but all fine and firm. Blanc shoots at the pop. Forget again doing this great work on the near sideline, making herself a big presence. Nearly a turnover, but rescued fantastically by Mabakon-Diasson. Just walking off and around, patient. Oh, little elevator pass. Love that, Zoe Forget. Giving us a little bit of swag. Now nice movement through Lacoste Lefebvre. This for the jailbreak, but there's no one super deep. The French happy to play in small ball spaces with a slightly compressed field. Oh, but that one snaffled up by the jaws of the zone. Now. Pivetta. Can the Italians hold on? Nearly a bit of traffic on the friendly fire. Giovannini, Tabini. Negroni now. The French fans on the sidelines chanting for the defense, but Grossi, can she come up with some more magic? It might have to be a high stall, high release. It's the hammer to the soft side, but it's going to be taken away by the French. Camille Blanc saying no. Mabakon-Diasson has Botodo in stride. Beanie underneath it and just about puts the pressure on. There's going to be a foul call and a discussion, but that one may well stand. Christina, what are your immediate thoughts?
I thought that disc trailed towards Beanie's line of running. I didn't see the, I didn't really see the contact happening at the time, but also I didn't have the best perspective, and how we do see the hands colliding. But that's all I'm going to say.
It's difficult from our camera angle because we can't quite tell how much separation there is in front for Beanie. But certainly there was contact there, but whether it was super meaningful, it's not what it looks like, it's how it feels to the athletes. So a fair outcome of the contested foul, I think.
And of course everyone has to go back to where they were to put that disc back into play.
So back in action, this time a conservative option. But can those front pack of white shirted athletes Get another block. That one, a big ball. Negroni on the chase, but of course, Padova just using her frame and height advantage, because you'd be rude not to. Lacoste Lefebvre opens up a beautiful shot, and it's a one-handed snag. And the faked spike. One of my favorite celebrations. Am I going to oh no, I'm not going to spike it. But there is a little bit of a sit down on the far sideline for Beanie. Hopefully she's okay. Trying to throw herself at the pack to deny the French twice. But a hold for the French. 11-6 the score. And that is a great way to respond eventually to the layout Callahan for the Italians. But they had a lot of break opportunities there, Christina. So have the Italians done enough to unsettle this star-studded women's French team?
Maybe they scared them just a little bit. It took them a lot of passes, actually. We haven't seen quite as many. Of course, we had one with 39 passes. That was zone offense, but this one 26, and they get the run through by the Italians, or rather thrown into the Italian defense, and then another one just only took 11 passes to be ruled in for the French. I do think they stifled them. I think there was more pressure this time around due to that Callahan, due to the energy, and we've seen time and time again in every team for the Italians how well they feed off of the energy of single players stepping up.
Well, the live chat getting involved. We do see you folks, and my Italian's not great, but I understand the French. We're not that biased towards the Italians in terms of wanting them to win. We just want a close game here, folks. So I think certainly the French have had a well-deserved performance through the course of this championship. They have denied most of their opponents any kind of action. Certainly the overall standings tell a real story. But the Italians, of course, they have done a similar duty to the rest of the pack. Clearly out in front, yes, the French under-20 side in the women's division, but the Italians are fine too. And certainly with the current scoreline, you've got to love an underdog. But that's an amazing play on the defense. Lacoste Lefebvre nearly sneaking the disc away. Getting us very excited. Aftanini, swing across to Brugnoli. Villa now. Brugnoli across. It's easy swinging. Patience against the zone, although every so often they peel off, and it's the layout block for Forget.
Jumping right through there, denying anyone that disc.
Block underneath. Big old rocket out of the paws of Lacoste Lefebvre. Can it be run down? Of course it can. She's been picture perfect all game long and makes the work for Padova exceptionally easy.
That one lashed out of her hands so easy. It seemed like she was passing to a teammate for fun. And that one looked like a lot of fun for that score. Padova, a third goal on her, 2 assists and a block for sure.
Yep, she has been eating up the stats board all tournament long, and this is no surprise to see. So let's talk goal differences for both of these sides, Christina, across the championship. So obviously this game, a big old chunk of air between the two sides, where they see the airtime being pulled by Forget yet again. But the positive goal difference for the French,
67 goals.
Ouch. 67 plus, so that's 104 points they've scored and 37 by any of their opponents in this championship.
I mean, think about that. 7 games, 7 wins, obviously. And then
it's nearly double the goal difference of the Italians. 36 plus, 98 they've scored, 62 their opponents. It's bonkers.
It
absolutely
is
bonkers.
Absolutely crazy, and it just shows the way the French are closing out these games as well, because it's easy to to win these games if you have a universe point line that is so good, but to close them out and really not let your opponents come back is something the French are doing very well, and they're trying the Italians to stop from forcing it.
Well, the Italians looking to stay alive here. The French 3 points away, of course, from a gold medal here at the European level. Do you expect anything less from a silver medalist at the Worlds division last season? But the Italians will continue to give their fans delight. Oh, that's a delightful throw over the top. High release, well kept by Corradini. Swinging all the way across the board. Big backhand into the end zone, and that's a beautiful find. Alessandra Pivetta gets a goal to go along with her 2 assists.
Just perfect offensive structure for the Italians this time around. We see them struggle a little bit with their disc movement and their placement and cuts, but this time around just very well done for them to find the open players, to chill out, and I think they found a very good rhythm for themselves now.
12-7 for France.
A beautiful swinging around the back. The Italians finding a little bit of finesse here in the late stages. Coming out when they got that layout, Callahan, Christina. I asked the question of if that was going to turn it around, but it's not happening. In fact, no, it's not a timeout, just everybody circling up on the fields. Elia Giardin delivering us with the information as always. He's done every single game this tournament. A massive shift.
Indeed it is, although I don't want to minimize, thank you, the work he has done, but that tournament has been pretty great in terms of schedule. 2 games in the morning, a break in the middle, and then 2 in the afternoon. For us and all the players alike, it is really hot. It can get even hotter in Italy, and just making sure those young bodies are not overstrained by any means. Just a perfect work by the EUF to ensure that.
Indeed, I'm honestly a little bit surprised not to see more parasols, i.e. using an umbrella, your parapluie, as a parasol. Because I certainly do that when I'm commentating tournaments. But players happy to be out under the hot sun in this morning game slot. Local time here in Italy, 11:10. And we are running out the clock. Total passes there. We missed a couple for the first 3 possessions because our stats went a bit funky, but pretty even in terms of the numbers required here for both of these sides. And another zone coming out from the Italians to try and sneak a couple more breaks on the board. Smooth moves across through the Chamoine. Now moving back across. Oh, lovely find. Delaire with the one-handed grab. Well, that one was fine too. Lacoste Lefebvre just hanging around, patiently waiting for the moment. Now moves it quickly and follows the pass through the cup, jinking in front. I love the way Lacoste Lefebvre moves. Such a wonderful handler to study. As she sinks over to the far sideline. That one a little bit of a wobble on it, but up goes the arm for Delaire. Squeezing through. Chamoine. Lofty high release, pressure from the defense, but all fine for Sorin. High release across Lacoste Lefebvre again. Be interested to see at the end of this game exactly how many points that number 68 shirt has played. She's barely left the field, but a foul call, a push off elsewhere. Ascari falling into the dirt.
You said something about watching Lacoste Lefebvre, and I think you can see some Bono energy, the way she holds herself on offense.
Pops through the centre. French 3 points away from the gold medal here. With just under 8 minutes remaining. Things quieting down on the sidelines. Bardin now. Has Delaire available all the way across. but choosing the legs rather than the throws until that moment. Troyot upfield. Forget looking to distribute backwards. But it's lateral and escapes the intended target. Romain Delaire wasn't expecting that one to be thrown quite so far behind.
Indeed, the Italian defense lashing through, causing that to be released even later.
And a timeout being called by Italy. Corradini saying, let's have a think about what play we want to come out with. Can the Italians snag another break back against this well-tooled French women's side? We'll have to find out in a few moments.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Padova, Italy, the host of the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023, and the women's division is being coronated here. Some power plant action going on the side, or braids, if you know them as such. And everyone's going into timeouts, including in our live chat. Pazzo moderating, keeping things cordial, which we love to see. Corradini calling the timeout as the Italians are on the edge of a potential third break in this game.
They haven't had a lot of chances and used the limited chances very well. We'll see what they can do with this one. I love the fact that they stopped and got a breath after the long zone point they played.
Yeah, I think they've had about 3 opportunities thus far. Had the Italians maybe 4, of course. One of those a big play, but that's a huge bit of undercutting denial from Lacoste Lefebvre. The speed applied to those Tokai cleats is enough to raise anyone's spirits. And calmly, she just trots into position and takes the centralizing pass. Oh, that one a little bit too much. Again, lots of questions being asked by these throws for Romain Delaire. Bassini now for the Italians. Corradini throws a swing around Ascari, looking for the seconds. Is there anyone hitting the deep space for Ascari? No. They're happy to take the around to Bassini. Ascari being given lots of room to work in by this match coverage. Oh, that's a little bit risky, but I like it. Corradini throwing up to the break side. Oh, what a beauty that is. Toe work just to make sure, but there's a call elsewhere, a pick. That's going to send that one back.
That was great work from Corradini, getting that throw off quickly. Giovannini, though, through a lot of traffic in the middle of that end zone.
Yeah, that's a fair call, but a really nice option, and she's going to go for it twice under much more pressure. This time, a second delivery for the number 22, Margherita Giovannini.
Of course, Giovannini, the only player on that team who also represented Italy in the senior division. And that one just not as big of a difference maker as I thought she might have would be, which is not at all an insult, although it might seem a little negative. It's just that that Italian team is so widespread that after this week-long tournament that was intense for the Italians, she doesn't have to put the team behind her, but they can help her excel at the things she does best, which is playing defense and getting the scores for that breaks.
Well, not thrice, but twice for the Italians, and that's a third break of score in this game. They are now on course to take the biggest scoreline against the French women, but of course, only 3 points left until a gold medal catch for them.
I'm not so sure we will see all of those 3 points as time is very close to expiring.
That's a good point, Christina. So maybe the second team of the entire championship to hold the French to less than 15. But certainly it's going to be quite the effort for the Italian women to bring themselves back in. But that is a campaign. This second half, these two teams are completely level, 2 breaks each. Of course, if it had all gone to serve, it would have been the Italians taking home the gold medal because they started on offense. But that first half, dominance from the French power line. They might need them in the late stages, though. Certainly it wouldn't be the first time we've seen the Italians turn a team over in the late stages. Our mind goes back to quarterfinals at EYUC back in 2019, Christina.
Oh, that was an amazing game. So much energy and single players taking over everything. The whole show.
It's one of the beautiful things about Ultimate as a sport. Much like in tennis, you have to win that last point. You cannot finish just on a fizzle. It's always a bang. Blanc working in the short space. Nearly the hand sneaking the disc away from Perez. And the time just expired on our clock. And whistled a signal by our volunteer scorekeepers. Massive shout out to all of the volunteers, of course, making every Ultimate tournament special, but particularly at this youth division level. Pass rips open the field to the far side for Lacoste Lefebvre. Abekon Diasson is just such a fantastic thrower, as are many of these athletes, of course. Bardin, sorry. Just threading their way through the zone. Oh, but there is the block. Or was it a drop? I'm not sure, Christina.
I do think Gorarini got her hand in there and smacked that disc away.
So maybe the lack of attack caused by the zone, the slowdown, paying a little bit of extra dividends. Negroni thinks about it, has an upline shot available. Pivetta opens up the backhand break, and it's another for the Italians. 3 on a roll, 12-9 now. Game to 13.
That is a shift of energy that I did not quite expect this late in the game. 3-point run for the Italians. They are clean on getting those breaks now. They have worked really hard, and that zone stifling enough, putting question marks enough on the French every now and again.
Well, the French women at this under-20s level did give themselves such an expansive lead at the first half of this game, 6 breaks. But this point now, they have 4 match points to use, and they have a top 7 who have been so good.
Indeed, it will take everything out of this Italian squad to make a hero out of themselves, to make heroes out of all of them.
All right, so who do we have coming out on defense? Surely Lucrezia Grossi is taking the field, surely, because now every single point matters for the Italian side. She's going to get herself a little bit of a drink, but let's see who else we definitely have. We have Passini,
Bini, who was so good in the end zone.
Negroni,
A player with ruffled shorts, so I don't see your number.
Martinini, Brugnoli, Pivetta, who of course threw that an amazing backhand break to get the Italians into this position. And just on the floor, doing her laces up.
And then is that maybe Giordini?
Well, either way, we can't quite tell you who are on the line for the Italians, but for the French, Padova, no Forget, because of course it's just a straight O-line. But you do have Trousseau, by the looks. Swan Lecourse-Lefebvre, of course, the anchor for this French women's team. Le Chamoine, as we see a pole land out of bounds, so ideal field position for a set play. Camille Blanc. Erel Perez. Oh, Ascari, that's who we couldn't see for the ruffled shorts. Of course, a key part of this Italian side in this game. 2 big old goals and 1 massive block. Lecourse-Lefebvre, though, to start us off from the brick mark. Gets a disc back, but Negroni with the run through. Well, they're teaching the French a lesson, and that's attack every disc right now, but can they attack it back on defense? The Italians love a quick counter attack, but maybe they'll have to slow things down a little bit against this intense match coverage. Around, all the way around to the break side. Negroni faking that one. Oh, but that one's going to be a little bit too quirky. A missed opportunity for the Italians. But they know they can generate turnovers now. Swinging all the way across the back. The first of 4 gold winning opportunities for the French women. Still count rising, shoots backwards. Lecourse-Lefebvre cannon into the centre for Blanc. Trying to just move it slowly in with these. Perez. Now, Le Chamoine. High release dish, but easy enough. Trousseau finds the gap. The fans on the far sideline stomping their feet as the French women stomp towards. Oh, Padova on the goal line, just shy. Is it going to be an easy toss? It is. Post through the letterbox, and the gold medal here in Padova will go to the French. But a travel way back when.
That was quite some time ago, actually, that travel. Players standing and waiting. Maybe a little bit too easy.
I mean, I was literally just going to say that was a very easy way to finish after a real tussle, especially in these late stages. A 3-point run for the Italians because they've been attacking every single disc. So back with Lecourse-Lefebvre. So back in action. Roll back the tape, Le Chamoine has Lecourse-Lefebvre. Oh, nearly wasn't expecting that one. When you're playing against a zone, you always have to be expecting the Frisbee to come your way. But just needs to be easy. Le Chamoine making that low reception look indeed très facile. Post through the middle of the cup. Le Chamoine. Lecourse-Lefebvre just sitting in that secondary position, the second line of offense. Lecourse-Lefebvre. Back around to Trousseau. Not too much in the middle. I'll tell you what, that's a nice find though. Le Chamoine nearly gets the disc knocked out of her hand by the shoulder of the mark, going blind. Is it going to be the give go? Not quite. Just shy of the next point. Keeping the resets. Plenty of space on that break side. But just looking for the next handler reset. Nice and easy does it. They don't need to be too flustered. Just easily moving around the back. Liddell available. Trying to puncture through a little bit. Lacoste-Lefebvre. Oh, that one surely going to be a goal again for the French women. Well, that will do just enough. Perrine Berthaudot finishing things off here in the women's division with a high catch. The frame used well, the vision from Lacoste-Lefebvre, and that will be another gold for the juniors of France.
Such a well-deserved medal for them. The composure on that offense. So many red zone passes. Nearly the goal. Everyone's celebrating already. That point going back on the travel and then keeping composure, taking so much time but not rushing it, not trying to put something in, but just easy offense for the French.
Well, late stages in this game, we saw a couple of the anchors for the French staying on the field again and again. And to me, it does seem fitting that Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre and Perrine Berthaudot were your eventual connections for that gold medal win. But what a play that was. Nearly the Italians with the last-minute comeback. 3 on the bounce. We said they'd go home with lots of things to be proud of. So 2 fun statistics for the Italian women here. They managed to hold the Italians to the lowest scoreline, sorry, the French to the lowest scoreline the entire tournament. Until now, that favour went to the Czech Republic with that 14-10 performance. And they also have equalled the highest tally of any team against this fantastic French side. In fact, should I say that? What? They didn't. It was the Czech Republic that got that highest scoreline. But what a game, Christina.
It was just so impressive, and seeing the Italians come back again, never giving up that fight and fighting as a whole team together to get there. And that was an impressive performance in the final. It took their all, and I get that they will be sad about not winning, but I think the performance was as incredible and as good as it could have been against a French side that was just one better in the end.
Well, little dancing celebrations there from the players out on the field. We're going to get an interview with Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre and, of course, Zoe Forget, who was so pivotal in the early stages of this match. Going to get them all sat down, give them a moment to compose themselves. But what a game and what a performance that was for the French women. They rarely misstep during the course of this championship, and it was fantastic to watch this game. So we have Zoe Forget and Swan Lacoste-Lefebvre. Zoe, how do you feel right now?
I'm very happy.
You can speak in French if you like.
Okay. Je réalise pas du tout. Je pensais pas que c'était le dernier point. Je pensais qu'on allait aller, enfin que c'était pas fini quoi. Et je suis vraiment trop contente parce que c'est mon premier. J'ai toujours voulu faire ça et j'ai eu des problèmes de blessures, et là je pensais pas que j'allais pouvoir faire la finale parce que j'ai un problème de genou, et j'ai pu jouer comme je voulais et sans douleur, et je suis vraiment trop contente.
Well, I'm very glad that you were able to play that game. Certainly you've got your tape all together, yes. Making sure that left knee is okay. I remember watching you on the beach a couple of weeks ago, and it was a real pleasure to watch you on the grass. There's a little bit of a change. Amazing stat line in the beginning of the game. You said you weren't on in the last point, so you had that energy. You know, it's not as it couldn't be finished yet. 3 goals, 1 assist, and 3 massive defensive plays. We didn't expect anything less. But moving over to you, Swan, I think you rarely left the field in the second half. You pulled lots of points. For you, what does it mean to win this gold medal?
Pour moi, c'est vraiment une revanche. Parce que j'ai encore en tête les championnats du monde l'année dernière, où on fait une belle remontée contre les USA, mais on se fait arrêter dans notre lancée et l'argent ne nous a pas suffi. Et aujourd'hui, on a réussi à décrocher l'or et ça nous tenait vraiment à cœur. On a fait un super championnat, alors on voulait pas que ça se termine ici. Et comme Zoé, je savais pas que c'était le dernier point. Alors vraiment, tellement heureuse de l'équipe et l'équipe s'arrête pas là. On va aller aussi chercher la plus haute marche l'année prochaine au WJUC. Et on attend que ça, on a trop hâte et merci beaucoup, c'était super.
Well, it was a beautiful game to watch. How, for you, Zoe, did it feel when we saw that last couple of breaks from the Italians where they started really attacking the disc very well? How did it feel for you? What were your coaches saying to you when it was this section of the game when the Italians were coming back?
Je vous avoue que j'ai eu un peu peur, mais j'ai toujours eu confiance en mon équipe, j'ai toujours eu confiance en nous et je savais qu'on n'allait pas baisser la tête. Les Italiennes, on les a battues une fois et on voulait les battre 2 fois, qu'elles comprennent que nous, on gagne chez elles et qu'elles, c'est chez elles, mais maintenant c'est chez nous.
Yeah, well, you did play avec beaucoup de confiance. So, my final question to you, Swan. Do you have any messages now for the USA? Because a lot of your players are still going to be eligible next World Junior Championships.
Bah écoutez, les USA, on a une très très belle équipe, très soudée, très forte qui arrive. Et je pense qu'on va réussir à faire trembler les meilleures équipes mondiales. On a déjà battu le Canada l'année dernière, on va le refaire. Et cette fois-ci, on va battre les USA en finale si possible.
And the final question, le dernier. What's your message back to your fans watching this game at home?
Merci de nous avoir suivis, on vous aime fort et continuez de nous suivre l'année prochaine. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde, on a eu beaucoup de soutien, c'était vraiment génial. Ouais, ça fait plaisir, on a reçu beaucoup de messages et ça fait plaisir et ça motive. Ah oui. Merci beaucoup.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much. Enjoy celebrating this evening. A very well-deserved victory. Congratulations. Well, amazing to get to spend some time. Well, don't go anywhere, folks. Reaching back into our live stream, we are a few moments away from the opening of the mixed final. Looking at the final stats for this game, of course, it was all about the break chances taken by the French in the early stages. Nearly the comeback for the Italians, but that will wrap us up here for the women's division here at EYUC. Don't go anywhere, folks. The mixed final will start between the Swiss and the Hungarians, a rematch from last time out at Worlds. For myself, Hannah Pendlebury, for Christina Obermeyer, for all of our ULTI.TV crew, like, subscribe, become a patron, and we'll see you for the next one in a few minutes.
And 14 Hungary. Number 3, Lutza Kaka.
I might be broken down, but I'm smiling. I keep my head up high, though I fail. Sometimes I get a bit emotional, but then I turn around and let it go. I see you watching me from a distance. I see you can't decide what to feel, but if you dig a little deeper, boy, you know you really wanna get to know me. Let's get this out of the way. I can't wait another day to tell you you shouldn't wait. Don't be so afraid. Yeah, I'm a bit too much, but I'm fun and games. When I'm acting tough, I just wanna play. If you are looking for one hell of a ride, just come and get it. Baby, I'm on your I'm a bit too much, but I'm finding it. When I'm acting tough, I just wanna play. If you are looking for one hell of a ride, just come and get it. Baby, I'm all yours. Come and get it, come and get it, come and get it, come and
Thank you.
Want your kisses in the morning light. Wanna be next to you every night. No, I shouldn't love you, but
Thank you.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.